so that everybody could see his beautiful clothes. One day, two rogues came to the city and they disguised themselves as weavers.
We know how to weave the most wonderful cloth in the world. The patterns and the colours are marvellously beautiful.
The weavers said that anyone who was unintelligent or unfit for the emperor's office could not see the cloth.
I must have few clothes made from this wonderful cloth. When I wear them, I shall find out what men in my empire are not fit for their places. I shall know the clever men from the dunces. Those weavers must be brought to me at once.
So the weavers were brought to the emperor's presence.
Yes, your majesty, what can we do for you? Here, take this sum of money and get to work without delay.
The rogues immediately set up their huge looms and pretended to be working. They called for the finest silks and the brightest gold. But these they put into their pockets. They worked steadily at the empty looms until late into the night.
I can hear the rattling of the looms. I must go and see my wonderful new clothes.
He decided to send someone to find out how the weavers were getting on. But he remembered that it was only those who were unintelligent or unfit for their office that could not see the cloth.
I know. I will send my faithful Lord Minister to the weavers. He is a very clever man, and no one is more worthy of his office than he.
So the good old minister went into the room where the two rogues sat working at the empty looms. He stared and opened his eyes wide.
Mercy on me, I can't see a thing.
But he said nothing at all.
Step a little nearer. Isn't this a beautiful pattern? And the colours! Are they not wonderful?
And they pointed to the empty looms. The poor old minister put on his spectacles and bent over the looms. But he could see nothing, for there was nothing to see.
Mercy, is it possible that I am unfit for my office? Certainly no one must know it. Am I a dunce? I will never say that I can't see the cloth.
Well, sir, what do you think of it?
It's gorgeous, beautiful, the colours are charming and the pattern is very fine. I shall tell the Emperor that I am much pleased with your work.
We're glad indeed to hear you say so.
They went on talking about the cloth. They named the colours and described the peculiar pattern. The old minister listened carefully, for he wished to repeat to the emperor all that was said.
We need more silk and more gold thread to use in our work.
But all that was given to them they put into their pockets. Not a single strand of silk was ever put on a loom. The emperor sent another faithful friend to see the cloth and inquire how soon the clothes would be ready. But this man fared no better than the minister. He stood before the empty looms and looked and looked and looked, but he saw no cloth.
It's not this beautiful cloth and the colours are gorgeous. Dear, surely I'm not unintelligent. It must be that I'm unfit for my office. That is very strange, but I must not let it be known.
Then he said,
The design is gorgeous and the colours are marvelous. I shall tell the Emperor that I'm not pleased with the work.
Soon everyone in the city was talking about the wonderful cloth that the two weavers were making. The emperor thought that he would like to see the beautiful cloth while it was still upon the looms. With a number of his courtiers, he went to visit the two rogues, who were weaving rapidly day after day without any thread.
among the courtiers were the two men who had already been there. They thought that the others would say that there was something on the empty looms, so they began to cry out at once.
Look, Your Majesty! Do you see the wonderful design? And the colours, are they not gorgeous? What is this? I see nothing at all. Am I not fit to be the Emperor? Am I a dunce? If that were known, I should be deposed.
Then he said,
Yes, it's very pretty. I could not be better pleased.
He smiled and nodded his head and stared at the empty looms. His courtiers too looked and looked, but saw no more than the others. Yet they all cried,
It is marvelous. It's gorgeous. It is wonderful. It is brilliant.
They asked the emperor to wear a suit made from this cloth in a great procession that was soon to take place. The emperor gave each of the rogues a royal badge to wear and called them the imperial court weavers.
The day of the procession is getting nearer. We have to work with might and main. We have to step the whole night long.
Through the shining windows, the people could see them hard at work. They took yards of nothing down from the empty looms. They made cuts in the air with big scissors. They sewed strong stitches without any thread, and at last they said,
The clothes are ready. This is wonderful. Now let me try my new suit.
The rogues lifted their arms as if holding something.
See? Here is the coat. Here is the cape. Here are the trousers. And it is light as a spider's web. You may move as freely as if you had nothing on. That is the beauty of it. It is marvelous!
and yet all the time they saw nothing, for there was nothing to see.
Will your majesty be pleased to take off your suit? And then we can try on the new garments before the long mirror.
The emperor took off his clothes, and the rogues pretended to put on each new garment. They wrapped him about, they buttoned and they tied until they made out he was completely dressed.
How well is majesty in his new suit? What a becoming style. What beautiful colours.
The emperor turned round and round before the mirror, and looked and nodded his head.
They are waiting outside with the canopy, which is to be carried over the majesty during the procession. I am ready.
The two men who were to carry the train of the emperor stooped down to the floor, as if picking up something, and then they held their hands high in the air. They did not dare let it be known that they saw nothing. The emperor marched along under the handsome canopy, and all his officers marched behind him in gorgeous clothes.
How handsome the emperor's clothes are! What a perfect fit! What marvellous colours!
No one would say that he couldn't see anything, for that would have proved him very unintelligent and unfit for his office. No clothes of the emperor had ever before been so admired.
But he has nothing on! Hush, hush!
But the people began to whisper to one another what the child had said.
The child said he has nothing on. He has nothing on.
The emperor heard what they said, and he shivered, for he knew that their words were true. But it would never do to stop the procession, so he stood taller and prouder than ever before, and behind him his officers carried the invisible train.